Yeah, I wish I had some
Rolling Sound.
some perk 30s. I wish I had some perk 30s because I don't know if there's enough copium. There's not enough copium in the world. I'm going to have a opioid addiction after this game.
It's an emotional roller coaster, dog. It's an emotional roller coaster. I already deal with enough anxiety and tonight, man.
Yeah. I mean, all the real Knicks fans, welcome to the Smart Dumb Negus podcast, first of all. And we love hip hop. We love the culture. We love the culture, all that shit. But right now, tonight, this is really a Knicks podcast. Like, it's a New York podcast. Above everything is a fucking New York podcast. So don't ever get it twisted. We from Brooklyn. Cab, where you repping in Brooklyn?
I'm repping the D theft capital. You know what I'm saying? I'm repping that D theft capital. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm repping.
You know.
I'm repping. I'm repping I'm repping that D theft capital. Everything else I was gonna say after that might get me in trouble, but I'm repping that D theft capital. You know what I'm saying? I'm repping that Ebbetsfield. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'm repping
that Albee Square. Repping that Albee Square. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm repping that Albee Square. I'm repping the Muse. I'm repping the Brooklyn Children's Museum. You know what I'm saying? That's by my old block. If you really know me like that.
We on it like that.
You know what I'm saying? I'm repping June Balloon. I'm repping the Labor Day. I'm repping the West Indian Day Parade.
West Indian Day Parade. We repping the African Street Festival.
I'm a festival baby. First of all, shout outs to Baba MJ. Shout outs to my brother Brooklyn Z. I'm a festival baby. You know what I'm saying? For real. I'm a Juve team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So shout out to me.
I'm repping subway surfing on the D train, nigga. Like, we was subway surfing on the D train, bro. So it's not really a game for us to be Knicks fans, and that's why, like, shout out to Cameron, because Cameron has been actually a really entertaining figure in this whole Knicks run, because he's like, man, the way the Knicks, 50 years, man, the Knicks, y'all getting your hopes up. I know about the Knicks. So he's been this character of, like, Knicks antagonism as the run goes on. But I think what he represents is the spirit of many New Yorkers who have been traumatized by rooting for the Knicks. And so they jump ship. And I think that's such a realistic way to handle trauma and to handle how New York does you. Because one thing New York is going to do is knock you down. Like, New York is like literally that movie cliche of, like, the cab stopping in the rain and splashing you. Like, that's why it happens to all the characters, because that happens to everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to run down the stairs or up the stairs and miss the train. Like, you're going to
I'm not even going to hold you. That is exactly my relationship with the Knicks. I'm not going to get on here and pretend that I haven't cared about, this, y'all are my basketball friends, you know what I'm saying? And I haven't cared about basketball, bro, in my adult life at all, because, it's not only is the Knicks era hallmark to my childhood and my youth. I remember being a little boy and seeing Kiki Vanderway and Maurice Cheeks in the Garden, dog. Like, I was going to games. I went to games as a child. As a little child.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I was in the building for the Eastern Conference Finals the last year the Knicks made the finals.
Wow.
Like, I went to Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers. My friends, very well-to-do parents, had tickets to that game. And I had great seats, which I don't think would be possible in this era, actually. Like, I don't think even them who were really affluent, I don't think they would have had an extra ticket. You know what I mean? And I was like a poor or middle-class kid, whatever you want to call it. I'll call it poor. who had access through friends, through family, through people who love me to say, hey, we know you're a Knicks fan. We want you in the building for this moment. We want you here to experience something like the underserved kids. Like there were the group of kids really quickly today that got the announcement and the handout from Patrick Ewing on, I believe it was today, the NBC Today show for Knicks tickets tonight, where the median get-in price was $11,000.
Yeah.
11,000.
Yeah.
It drops from 6,000 to 11,000. Those kids, a group of kids. So I was one of them kids. You know what I mean? But in that era, I think I was lucky, but I don't know if I would have been able to get in this era.
And it was still packed. Show you New Yorkers really is wild out. New Yorkers will come up off 11 bands. New Yorkers will come up off 11 bands. And that's like, yo, New Yorkers are funny. But I mean, yo, the last time I really cared about the Knicks, and some people notice if you've been on my artist journey or you're one of my personal friends, I'm partially blind, right? Some people may know that, some people don't, depending on how long they know me. I'm partially blind. I sustained severe head trauma, direct impact into my left eye, and was hospitalized, was blind for 5 days, and missed the rest of the school year. You know what I'm saying? And that happened in the spring. And that happened with me watching the Knicks get eliminated in the playoffs by the Pacers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that was the same time O.J. Simpson was escaping in the Bronco.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, being a kid that couldn't leave the crib.
They interrupted the broadcast.
Yo, it was so many things emotionally happening for me at that time that I'm pretty sure that was the last year that I really, really was invested in the Knicks emotionally. I might have dabbled some years after that. Right. You know, we got the Chris Childs 2-piece and Kobe era. You know, we got some eras where it was still kind of exciting. We had the Spreewell era. We had the Stephon Marbury era. Where it was was just kind of like you knew you were rooting for the underdog, and you still kind of had some hope that we was going to do some damage.
You had a little hope.
You know what I mean?
You had a little hope.
We had a little hope that we could, Allen Houston, we was like, Allen Houston might do some damage maybe, you know what I'm saying?
Right. We had crazy hopes.
But I think that time when I was a child recovering from that injury, how I felt about the Knicks back then and basketball back then, and the emotional roller coaster of that, and then O.J. Simpson interrupting the broadcast, and then us getting eliminated, and like I hated Reggie Miller. It was a lot for a kid, and I think I began to walk away after that, and I didn't want to be hurt like that anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Wise move, bro. I mean, to your point, like I think what the Knicks represent for me as a New Yorker is embracing a certain level of trauma in order to be here, like a certain measure of being counted out, of being stepped on, spit on, ignored, unimportant. And I'm gonna walk you through a couple of Knicks eras right now. Like I'm gonna walk you through it from the perspective of how my life was unfolding as a person and as a fan, but also how I basically developed coping mechanisms through the Knicks. Like my logical brain always knew that there was something a little bit off. Like there was something off about this organization, because there are friends of ours, ones who I won't name, who left the ship and went to, like, I'm Reggie Miller's biggest fan. I can understand why those friends chose Reggie Miller. I can understand. Listen, you friend, I know who you are. I know why that hurts you, what Reggie Miller did. And if I tell the true story about Reggie Miller, because if you look at his career stats, he made it to the finals once, so shout out to that. But Reggie Miller actually was not, didn't have a winning record against the Knicks. He didn't have a winning playoff record. He stole our heart. He stole our heart.
Yeah,
for sure.
And Spike Lee, and then the Spike Lee moment.
Yeah. I mean, it was an iconic playoff moment that he actually made a career out of. Like now he's a famous broadcaster because of it. And if you looked at his career stats, you wouldn't know that he was actually kind of a marginal player in the NBA. He wasn't one of them ones. Not like Patrick Ewing was. Not like the Jamaican sweat king Patrick Ewing. He was not like that. He was not like that. And he got a lot of credit for, let's be real, pushing Greg Anthony to the ground. And that's what happens in competitive games. There's competitive spirit and fire, and not everything is going to go your way. But that's what I mean. Like, the Knicks and being a Knicks fan, it's exemplary of the experience of being a New Yorker and not everything going your way and having to push on and having to find some measure of hope, even though it doesn't make sense to. So
we got a Jamaican representing now. We got a Jamaican representing.
Yeah,
we got a Jamaican, a Dominican, and a Puerto Rican. It's kind of really, bro. It's a very New York situation going on right now.
And we got Landry Shamet, who looked like Aki from the Bodega. He looked like Aki from the Bodega. Like,
shout outs to Chris Sprague. He like Chris Sprague cousin. He looked like Chris Sprague cousin. You know what I'm saying? He's every race.
Yeah.
He gave me John Starks anxiety. He gave me John Starks anxiety tonight.
You know, I'm so glad you texted that and that Anwar texted the reply, which is the crazy thing is he's had such a heater of a playoff run. Like, it's almost unfathomable how well he shot the ball up until tonight. When you decide to get back in, like, you're back in and you're vested. And then, of course, now that everyone's really in, that's when things are going to start to tail off, and the fantasy and the fucking carriage is going to turn into a pumpkin again. But I'm not going to affirm that. I'm not going to manifest that. Here's what's happened. If you've been a Knicks fan for these eras where you got to see them get close to the mountaintop and have some tragic losses to fall off of that peak, and then also go through a period of being the laughingstock, being the disgrace of the NBA too. Like, fans wearing bags over their head. Like, every draft for 10 years, fans booing our draft pick. And rightly so. Like, booing the people we picked because there were such terrible choices. And I think it came full circle tonight because in 1999, the operations of the Knicks were taken over by its owner, a billionaire fail-son named James Dolan. And James Dolan's signature move is meddling. He's literally like the fucking Inspector Gadget villain. Like I could have more if not for them crazy kids. Like, he's that guy.
Dr. Claw. He's Dr. Claw.
He's Dr. Claw. He can't help himself in terms of interrupting and ruining the vibes. And he did so again with his sycophantic worship of the president. He's such a herb. He's a herb among billionaires. So he wants to be cool with Trump. And even at the expense of his own investment, he loves the Knicks. He loves it as a team, but he's such a self-saboteur that he would invite the person that ruins the vibes. Like, Trump is such an epic vibe ruiner. You know what I mean? Like, he is the mafioso kingpin of the vibes cartel. And he specifically fucks the vibes over in ways that no one could have ever imagined. Like, when I tell you that New York, I'm so regretful that you're not here, Cav, because when I tell you the city has been electric the last 2 weeks, like, the Knicks were on a 13-game winning streak, right? And let me put that in perspective for people who don't know sports. They might not follow the NBA. In the year 2007 rather, when the Giants beat the Patriots were 16-0 that year. So to put that in perspective, right? 16-0, 16 NFL wins week after week. They won. And then Eli Manning and the Giants, a tough, scrappy team, not nearly as talented, beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl to prevent them from having an undefeated season and brought the trophy back to New York. And I'm not even a huge football fan, but the epic nature of taking on a winner of that sort is undeniable. Now the Knicks are in that seat. The Knicks are in that seat where they are the absolute winner of winners, and in an unexpected way. Like, they're not the most talented. They're not the most composed. They haven't even been the most composed team throughout the year. That was the Oklahoma City Thunder. But they have some amount of grit and resiliency that I can only label and attribute as the quality of a New York team. Like, the main quality that they have is grit. The main quality they have is grit. And they use that grit to, at first they lost to Atlanta in the first round. And since losing to Atlanta in the first round on April 23rd, they had not lost again until tonight. They had not lost again. 13 games, 3.5 weeks of just pure ecstatic fan elation, where people who had been harboring this resentment, this pain, this denial, this disappointment for years, for decades. Like, I'm talking about fathers and sons, like, nah, I can't do it. I'm talking like my grandmother. We used to listen to WFAN in her apartment on Ocean Avenue. I was listening to those Patrick Ewing Knicks teams. I was listening to them on the radio, bro. On the radio. And my grandmother has not rooted for, she's 85 this year. She has not rooted for the Knicks for like a solid 20 years. And when I last visited my grandma, like 2 weeks ago, she had a Knicks shirt on. She had a Knicks shirt on because that feeling was back. Because the way they're playing,
she had an Herb Williams jersey on. You know what I mean? She had a
Herb Williams jersey on. Herb Williams, listen, Herb came back and coached. That's how it was looking.
What I'm saying.
And because the losses, it wasn't like, there are some really decent NBA franchises who have brushes with success that I've only won a few times. Like the Boston Celtics are a great example. Like the Boston Celtics were great in the 80s. They haven't been terrific since then, but they've had brushes with success. And in 2008 and 2022, they won championships, which is like, hey, every 15 years, that's the most a fan can ask for. The Knicks haven't won, and you can check my Substack for the piece I did on this, in 53 years. The Knicks haven't won in 53 years, bro, in a lifetime, in people's lifetimes, including people whose lifetimes have seen that last championship, like my grandmother, right? Or that in my lifetime, I haven't seen that last championship. I haven't been to the pinnacle. I haven't been to the mountaintop. And as a sports fan, and specifically as a basketball fan, I'm going to take a little bit of a digression to talk about why the Knicks are a much more uniting team than any other New York team. And it's because basketball is a city game. Basketball is a city game. So even though we love our Mets, we love our Yankees, we love our Rangers, we even love the Brooklyn Nets. We've embraced the Brooklyn Nets after a transition from another location. But the reason that the Knicks are specifically the city's team is because they have the longest history with the city's most famous game. We have the most famous game and the most famous arena in the world. When every rapper has reached the pinnacle of their career, where do they play? Where do they play a show?
Not just
at
rappers.
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, not just rappers.
Every musician, every
comedians. If you're at the top and you sell out the Garden, that's a benchmark, pinnacle moment in your career.
Madison Square Garden, right? And we had the team that played there, and sometimes, if even briefly, met the stature of Madison Square Garden. We met the grandeur of Madison Square Garden with that team, if only a couple times, right? Like, if only a couple times in the history of the basketball league that we all watch, right? And when I became a man, I realized that the Knicks were run incompetently, and it was actually irresponsible for me and my emotions to root for them. It was an irresponsible choice for me to root for them, and I still made that choice. For 17 years, Like from the time that they were relevant and good up until now. So like 2007 to 2024, let's call it. I made the choice to root for them when they were at their absolute worst. They had the fewest playoff series wins. They had the fewest good choices, the fewest great draft picks, the fewest winning seasons. And I was like, you know what? I'm on board in secret. I'm going to still root for them. But I can't in good conscience root for them publicly because they're such a disgrace of a team. They don't represent anything that New York represents. The thing that the Knicks represented, to put it in perspective, they represented vanity, individualism, cronyism, and patronage, and blackmail and extortion. One of the Knicks' most disgusting and tragic eras was when Isaiah Thomas was both team president and coached the team for a moment. And it was basically because he was a favorite of James Dolan. And he was outed in a really public scandal where Anuka Brown Sanders sued Madison Square Garden and James Dolan and basically showed a pattern of harassment and mistreatment of women, and specifically her as a black woman. And it showed, if anything, and this was during the Stephon Marbury era. Stephon Marbury was also implicated in that case. It basically showed that the corruption was rotten from the core all the way to the skin. It was rotten every single place in that organization, and you can't have success when you're rotten to the core. And tonight was the reminder that if you're rotten to the core, it will still come back to you, because we brought the most rotten figure maybe in American political history during the longest winning streak, the second longest winning streak in NBA Finals and NBA playoffs history. We brought the most rotten American political figure because James Dolan wanted to be a sycophant to Donald Trump. And the vibes were so high. Go ahead.
Before putting an intentional worm in the apple, in the Big Apple, when do you feel the team last represented New York? When did they last? Despite, because we've had ethnic corruption, as you described, for quite some time. So when do you feel the New York Knicks last represented some semblance of the spirit of New York or the team that we love?
That's a great point. So there are two inflection points. One was very brief, and it was during Jeremy Lin's very brief and miraculous reign in 2012. And so I'm going to tell
the blazing Asian, dog. Know what I mean?
Yeah. I think what Jeremy Lin represents.
That's before the Stop Asian Hate psyop. You know what I'm saying? That's before the Stop Asian Hate psyop.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody acting like we wasn't showing love. We've been showing love on the general soul
We've
source.
Been showing
you know
love.
What I'm saying?
We've been showing love. And shout out to my nail salon. Shout out to Adele Pham, who created an amazing, fan of the pod, created an amazing documentary called Nailed It about the history of Vietnamese and Asian nail salons on the West Coast, but also has great and deep reverence for Vietnamese and Black collaboration that happened in hoods. And that's kind of the spirit of New York.
I gotta shout out New Orleans if we talk about Vietnamese Black collaboration. Like
shout it out.
The dominant Asian community here is Vietnamese. It has been for generations, and you don't get New Orleans without that community. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I mean, so in Linsanity in 2012, I'll take you to a place. So I was living at Bed-Stuy in a boarding house on Green Ave, and I had just done. We might have to bleep this. I had just done a healthy, fluffy eighth of shrooms, and Jeremy Lin was the captain and the flagship character in the New York Knicks' otherwise moribund history for that decade. He basically had gone on an incredible tear of about 16 games where he averaged all the high averages for any Knicks player. That Carmelo Anthony happened to be injured. This guy stepped in. He was a no-name kid from Harvard. Yep. He was undrafted. He had made the Knicks roster after a couple of stops in the NBA. He just lit the city on fire because the way that he was playing. That's why it's really important to put Jeremy Lin at the center of this Knicks history. The way he was playing represented Knicks basketball in the sense that the Knicks have always been best when they're not led by the best players. And the last Knicks championships in 1970 and 1973 were not led by the best players in the league. We had to beat Wilt Chamberlain. We had to beat Jerry West, right? And even when we were vying for a championship, Patrick Ewing, he had to try to beat Michael Jordan. He had to try to beat Hakeem Olajuwon. We were never those guys. We were never those guys. But the way that we got to that same arena, the way we were able to step in the same room as those greats was we played together. Because in New York City, the thing that people don't realize about New York City until they get here is that New Yorkers help each other out all the time. New Yorkers stick up for each other. New Yorkers fight for each other. Like, they think that because we live in such a densely populated city or a really competitive city that we don't go up for each other. Nah, we go up for each other all the time.
And it's an archipelago. We do that as an archipelago, right? You don't hit the mainland United States till you in the Bronx. You island hopping this whole time. And we're like a native tribe, like a very assorted tribal, but we rock for the territory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's the towns. That's why we call them the towns. Carl Anthony Towns, you know what I'm saying? We the towns. Because even though it's Thigh Town, even though it's Kingstown, like, even though it's those places that seem relatively separate and may have certain different cultural affects, we go up for each other. And when it comes time to unify and to represent for the city, we go up for each other. So Jeremy Lin represented that. He was the last. And then just recently, when Jalen Brunson joined the New York Knicks, he basically restored that feeling. He was like, I'm going to take, number one, a pay cut. Like, he could have made more bread, but he was like, nah, I'm about to play for the team my pops played for. And I'm also going to bring my homies over here. Like, I want some chips in college. I'm going to bring my homies over. We're going to see if we can bring it back to New York. And when he did that as this unheralded, shorter in stature than most NBA players, Jalen Brunson is 6'1" in sneakers. So he's truly the David versus Goliath in this NBA Finals matchup.
Yo, he's close to Iverson's. He's close to Iverson's size. He's got an inch on Allen Iverson.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's he's someone who is not, his game doesn't include a lot of flash, but it's very effective. And I think that's another New York thing. And he's light-skinned with braids.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? He's part of the Jalen invasion. You know what I mean? Shout to Rainy Ovalle. He's part of the Jalen invasion. But the thing that's really, really important about this particular moment in Knicks history is that the city is the hardest to live in that it's ever been. It's the most expensive. The infrastructure is the oldest it's ever been. We are holding on to hope that the widespread and tragic acceptance of billionaires and patronage and what I would call a variation of elitism has taken over our city. And it makes it so impossible to live here as a person who just wants a fighting chance at a great life. The quality of life here has also, I think, deteriorated for everyone from the middle down. The quality of life here, like we have the great subway system. I'll never front on our subway system, but a lot of our infrastructure is very compromised. Like I live in Crown Heights where you grew up, and it floods here constantly. I was just at a documentary screening for a film called For Venita and For Khalif, and it's about Khalif Browder and his mother. Rest in peace to both of them. and it was about the closing of Rikers and how Khalif Browder became a flashpoint for the closing of Rikers and what Rikers represents. And you're a New York historian, which is one thing I really respect about you. Rikers is basically on top of a landfill, right? And we keep thousands of humans there in unjust and unsafe conditions because of the prison industrial complex. And Rikers is one of those sores, those warts of New York that I think has come to represent what New York is to a lot of people, which is overcrowding and a penal system that is really focused on keeping people down and limiting social mobility. So at this point in the city's history, we need an underdog team to win. We need a team that's just hardworking, journeyman, like not famous, no names. Like, shout out and all due respect to Carmelo Anthony. All due respect to 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, the podcast, and everything that he did for the Knicks when he was there. But Carmelo Anthony was a superstar. He was a diva. He was the top of the top. He was an elite talent. He didn't bring the chip home, but he lived the life of a star, of a celebrity.
Yep.
This is not that team. This team is not celebrities. No. This team is Jalen Brunson is never going to be a household name. Even when he wins this championship, I won't affirm anything else. Even when he wins this championship, Jalen Brunson will never be a household name. You could book it. You could sign that right now. He will never be none of these starters on the Knicks.
He might change. He might be changing that, or maybe
he might.
He might be changing that, yo. He really might be changing that. I've seen a lot of it could be all marketing, man, but it seemed very sincerely New York centered advertising campaigns that are centered around hardcore Knicks fans and Jalen Brunson. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think he's
deservedly
becoming,
so.
I mean, yeah. He's already been the face of the organization for a couple years now, and but I think something is different now because it's embroiled in everything that you just described about the city. And hopefully, hopefully professional sports isn't completely co-opted by legal online gambling and gambling apps, and it's not scripted.
And it is.
And
first of all, it is.
Because then, to your point you made in our text chat, in our thread, you were like, yo, the NBA wants a long finals, right?
Listen,
they want us watching for full 7 games. It makes it more exciting. It's profitable. But
Profits
New York,
over
man,
people.
and if we're in the space when the Knicks last won, it was the 70s.
Yes.
The 70s is the last decade where the then president and the federal government gave a New York City a fuck you. They gave you a fuck you.
Yep.
Figure it out.
Yep.
And now we have Donald Trump in 2026 showing up.
Yep.
And he hasn't been like New York fuck you because he's from New York. So I don't know if it'll take that approach. But he doesn't care about anything that doesn't directly serve him or appease him. So he'll throw whatever under the bus, including his city. And that's why, and New York knows that. And that's why New York was outside of his hotel chanting, "We hate you, Donald Trump." You know what I'm saying? So Pat Dolan, it took us that amount of years to immunize ourselves against Pat Dolan. You know what I'm saying? That's what this whole era of Jalen Brunson and this version of the Knicks represents. We finally figured out how to live with this autoimmune that is Pat Dolan. Right. Shout outs to Frank. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to FWMJ. You know what I mean? Because
Dolan.
The Wizards,
James Dolan, bro.
The magicians who were the true fans, the magicians who could conjure the energy necessary to keep the Dolan germ from besmirching our wellness down the journey of championhood. You know what I mean?
For real.
And then now we got Donald Trump in there. It's very interesting. He could be up in the mix, and true fans are banned from the building. you know?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I think it represents right now, and why it's so interesting to talk to you about it, bro, because like, I felt the vibes from a couple people who are outside of New York now, who grew up there. And like the vibes is high, bro. Like the vibes is fucking crazy. It's crazy. There's so few times after game 2, I was in front of Fantasy Free near Fulton and Lafayette, where Spike and all his legions go, and it was like the Curl Fest out there, bro. It was baddies, it was the Bohemes, it was like Fort Greene in the early aughts or the late 90s.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Boheme, the Brooklyn
Bohemes were out, and there's so few times where it's like that, where it's actually people from Brooklyn also still there. Like we've been in eras of Brooklyn, just to specify it more, because like New York, I love New York, of course, but like let's talk about Brooklyn. We've been in eras of Brooklyn where, on Tompkins Avenue, it was crazy. There was times you could go out and there was so many joints on Tompkins Avenue that you could get caught up. Like you could actually be on Tompkins Ave, and I know you and me both have been on Tompkins Ave at times where it was like, oh, I actually can't be out here too long because there's a couple of joints out here that know me for how I behave, like in different sectors and different quarters and in different eras, and they didn't know that my era with this joint intersected with my era with this joint, and you weren't. And even if you were an ethical person, which I'm not going to say I was, but even if you were an ethical person, there was just certain courtesies that you offered your joints, where you would see these big,
because
there was certain courtesies and certain proximities there. You couldn't be out there at the same time as 2 or 3 of your joints, so you had certain histories with, and that's how Brooklyn used to be, where you had multiple people with deep Brooklyn histories, decades long, that you could run into, and you were like, yo, that was my boo. That was my boo from the 90s. That was my boo from the aughts. That was my boo from the 10s. You could say that, and they would all be out there.
The familiar. It put the familiar in familiarity. It put the familiar in,
but I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, bro. I mean? In that same breath, now, it's like, and not to say that that's gone entirely, but now it's like, oh, that's that joint who came here from ATL and she been living here for 6 years. Or that's that joint who's from Chicago and she been here for 4 years. But it's not the same longevity as your shorties that was in the 10s and the shorties that was in the 1000s and the shorties who've been here since the 90s and 80s who all still live here, because all of them left. All of them are gone. Okay. And so when you go out to something like Fancy Free and they have this renaissance moment for the Knicks, and it's like, oh, there's joints out here, but it's not necessarily people who are from New York. And no disrespect, because sometimes people put in their time, and this is like, oh, you've been here a decade since grad school or since law school. You've been here a decade, or you've been here a decade and a half since grad school or law school or business school. But now you don't know, and you're not as familiar with the regulars at Frank's or the regulars at Moe's, who have a different history with the New York Knicks, who have a different history.
We gotta, the thing is that what we need to do is welcome those people in a certain way, where we're initiating a responsibility. If you were here that long in Brooklyn, you know what the ritual looks like, because if you might not have been one of those originators at Frank's or something like that, or at Moe's or what have you, you probably was at Fort Greene Park for XYZ. You was at Dance Africa. You was at the Michael Jackson versus Prince parties or whatever.
Go to the events. Go there.
But I say, like, you know what it looks and feels like. So there's a guardianship that you need to step into to help those who are there now understand what time it really is and what needs to be maintained to keep the energy in alignment. Yeah. Yo, when I saw clips of New Yorkers responding to the Knicks wins, even getting into the semifinals, right? into the conference championship, right?
Yeah.
And most of those videos were centered around the Garden, right?
Yeah.
Up until game two of the finals, I saw videos.
It was a little different.
Underneath the J train, you know what I'm saying? Underneath the
It
J
was a
train
little
videos,
different.
right?
It was a little different.
And, you know what I'm saying? There's a different energy, you know what I mean? And you know what it reminded me of, actually? And
What's
it
that?
shows how important this moment is. And even though people talk about New Yorkers kind of being, pretentious in the sense, our affirmation of our importance, right? But it's a key domino. It's a key domino in the emotional matrix of our country and of the spirit of like standing on your own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I saw the types of celebrations and energy in Brooklyn, it reminded me of when Obama got elected. You know what I'm saying? When Obama got elected, shout outs to Supernova, yo. When Obama got elected, I was at Nove crib. We're young and we're broke. You know what I'm saying? We you know what I mean? We young and we broke. We rented from our parents who were smart enough to be proprietors in New York City. And we're very broke. You know what I mean? And niggas is on unemployment. You know what I'm saying? And if you know about unemployment, you know that unemployment hit Wednesday morning, which means Tuesday night, midnight, you ready. You like a thug.
We going up.
When Obama got elected, it's a Tuesday, right? You waiting for them election results on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about this is pre-club going up on a Tuesday. Yo, fam. Tuesday night, when we hit Broadway to try to go to the ATM to take out money for weed, the people were in the streets. They were crawling on top of, they were like ants swarming the bus. Like the buses coming down Broadway had people, like, when they show India, niggas hanging onto the train and on top of the train.
Hanging off the bus,
shit. That's how niggas was on the bus. Like, oh, Obama, dog. Like, niggas had automatically, psychically downloaded that in the new hood lexicon. We was swapping out my nigga for Obama. You know what I'm saying? So niggas was coming up to each other like, yo, what's good, my Obama? What's good, my Obama? Which is crazy. What's good, my Obama is crazy. Right? And then we seen the weed man, and this nigga looked like he finished crying, bro. We seen that nigga, he was like, nah, on some real shit. He was like, yo, on some real shit. Nah, here, just hold that. Just gave us the weed. Just gave us the weed. We ain't even have to spend the unemployment money on the weed. And we was like, wow, this is crazy. Police aren't arresting us? This is crazy. You know what I mean? So when I seen this now, I'm like, uh-oh. And look, if you want to talk about energetic ritual, that's when the mortgage crisis happened. A lot of shit happened in that era, right? You know what I'm saying? And we had to kind of buckle down and like hold the sails to try to turn that energy the other way, Listen. So like,
you talk about the script,
I need people
bro.
in Texas to root. The people in Texas, if you really about life, you actually need to root for the fucking Knicks. You need to root for the Knicks. If you in Texas and you about life,
when I think about the script,
the Spurs don't represent that. I'm not talking about they players and Wemby. I'm not talking about the specific players. But that team, you rooting for like the devil, dog. You gotta root for the Knicks, man.
Yeah, you gotta root for the Knicks. Well, you know what? The other thing about it is that's a beautiful story too, bro. That's a beautiful story, because the other thing about it is when these inflection points happen in United States history, like recessions, where thousands and thousands of people are going to be jobless due to AI, due to the competence of AI, that's insane. Like when you and I are both incredibly aware and alert people about how these tools work, how these technologies work, how the narratives go, and the fact that they're trying to tech wash these thousands of layoffs it's absurd. It's laughable because we know that these machines can't do what those hundreds of thousands of people do to keep these businesses running, to keep our country a powerhouse in many forms. But right now, there's a run on the bread that there never has been before. There's an imminent cash grab happening that is going to take over people's lives. The same way that the housing recession happened when Obama did, we're about to see a recession unlike any other for a lot of really great people, hardworking people. And what the Knicks represent in that is, it's just a blow to the establishment, because this is not about superstardom. It's not about celebrity. It's about the team and the way it plays. Just working hard and beating the odds. And if
Shaka
New York
Zulu, nigga.
remains that,
It's Shaka Zulu. It's Shaka Zulu versus the colonizers, dog. It's fucking Shaka Zulu energy,
but
dog.
you know what? They had to throw in the rotten apple. They had to throw in Trump to really remind heads that actually it's still ours. It's still ours. Even this play thing, that's the Knicks.
Blankets. They put Trailer Tears blankets in the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They was like, "Nah, we got y'all. Take these blankets. Take the blankets,
smallpox.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, take the
smallpox real quick.
Donald Trump is a pox. Trump pox. He gave us Trump pox. You know what I'm saying? Because you only get pox when you lay with animals. So, and he's like 45% pork skin. So he's a pox. He makes pox.
Bro, like I don't know how this guy got out of the Epstein files. I don't know how he got out of failed casinos. I don't know how he got out of convicted for all these felonies. I don't know how he got out of all that, right? But to include him now in one of the only great moments for New York, specifically New York, in 25 years, because everyone talks about this, and I wanted to bring this parallel up to you to ask you the question about it. Even the prominence of rap and hip hop has seemingly left New York. We are the cultural flashpoint for hip hop becoming global, but we're also the cultural flashpoint for hip hop becoming regional. So we are the example that they cite with like, oh man, like battles in the Bronx, and like our culture like went from the Bronx and Queens and Brooklyn to Berlin and, you know, Singapore. Like we have both that, and when it left New York, when it wasn't all about New York MCs and the New York sound, we were the reference point for that. It was like, oh, it's no longer just New York, right? And this is a similar moment where basketball and sports culture is no longer just a city thing. Like we've got the World Cup coming to the United States. We've got even the forms of sports like the WNBA or baseball. Those have become international sports because of specific figures. And New York is the example of how it's both and, right? Like it's both these amazing, incredible cultural figures who can go global.
Hideki Matsui.
And
Hideki Matsui. We was on the Hideki Matsui, you know what I'm saying? We was on that
exactly.
Hideki Matsui.
We were very, very early. Because we're a home and a hub of international experimentation. We're a home and a hub of international diversification. So if you want to try something, if you're a Dominican with a dream, if you're a Trinidadian with a dream, or a Jamaican with a dream, or a Venezuelan with a dream, you come to New York. And this is one of those representative teams that still shouts that out, that still typifies that energy. And it's really important. It's really important that the Knicks win. It's really important that the Knicks win.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because Wembanyama, you know what I like in Wembanyama too? And you'll get this. You'll get this very much. You know that kid who's like, I don't even want to assign a culture or a nationality to them, but you know that kid who's like the valedictorian, and they're really, really likely to get into Harvard, but they're about to write their college essay, and they're like, what's the thing I did last summer that I could zoom in on an anecdotal experience to make this essay really pop. That's Wembanyama. Like he is like, you know, I went to Shaolin and I studied with the monks and I went to Washington Square Park and I played chess with the drunks. Like
And now I know what it's like to be a nigger.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and now for me, I understand so much about the culture. Basketball is my dream, but it's also a way to, you know, we get the common people very invested. Like he absolutely is performative, and he's pageantry. He's poster
childing himself. And I noticed something today that made me not trust him. And I text you about it. And I was like, oh, this nigga shaves off his widow's peak. He shaves off his widow's peak.
But you can see it. You can see it.
And there's something.
You can see that triangle. You can see the triangle offense on his forehead.
Yeah, there's something ethnically coded about a widow's peak.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
You out there. You out here with, you know what I mean?
He still got a white mom. You know what I'm saying? He still got a white mom.
Dragon Ball Z with the Dragon Ball Z. You know what I'm saying?
He be J. Coleing it. He be J. Coleing it out here. He be J. Coleing it. And the thing about like an international star like that was, you know, Wemby is the international version of LeBron reading the first page of every book. Like slightly cultured, like slightly exposed.
You mean he's Drake when LeBron and Drake were cool?
He's bilingual Drake.
He's Drake Cole. He's Drake. He's Drake Cole. He's okay, I got you.
He's Drake Cole. And you know, I get it, and I think wanting it means a lot. Like to a person like Wembanyama, wanting the ultimate prize means a lot, and it even means a lot for this Nike campaign version of him that we're seeing. Like this very tightly constructed, marketing survey tested. That means a lot for that guy. But you know what it means a lot more for? It means a lot for the New York Knicks starters who, like you mentioned, are international representatives. So you've got Jalen Brunson, who's the half Jamaican son of an NBA player who was a journeyman who got no burn. He got no burn. He stayed on the bench, who married a black woman and had a black child and named him Jalen. You know what I'm saying? He represents what we are. And then if I look at Karl Anthony Towns, first of all, his name is Karl Anthony, not Anthony Towns, Karl Anthony. You know what I'm saying? That's highly Dominican. That's a high, like on the scale of 1 to Dominican, it's at least a Santo Domingo. He's like, he's that person. Jose Alvarado, who played at Christ the King High School. He played at Christ the King High School, and then the Knicks traded for him, and now he's playing major minutes for the team that he rooted for as a child,
as a kid,
as a Puerto Rican kid.
And for people don't know, Christ the King is like one of those high schools that would be in like documentaries, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, to see future NBA stars and college stars in basketball.
Yep, absolutely. Right. And then you got OG Anunoby, Nigerian, right? One of the most important and instrumental players, seemingly neurodivergent, seemingly introvert, seemingly an African immigrant child who got beaten into silence. No disrespect to my African parents out there, but beaten into silence, but also an unmistakably hard worker, right? That's New York. That's New York. You got like, hey, facts. I'm an AAU kid whose dad was an NBA player, but we wasn't rich. Like Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson's dad, we're not talking about $10 million contracts here. We're talking about, this is $500,000 to stay in the NBA for 10 years. This is $400,000 to be a walk-on player in the NBA. So he is effectively, especially compared to the NBA, from a middle-class background, right?
Especially in the era now where college athletes are getting 6 figures in pay.
who are getting paid. They're getting paid. If Jalen Brunson were in college now, he was not in college in the era of the NIL name, image, likeness deals where he could have been paid millions of dollars. He wasn't in college at that point, and he won a chip. He won a chip with Villanova, right? From hard work, right? OG Anunoby, who went to Indiana in college, he was a Nigerian immigrant who grew up in Great Britain. And then he actually got taken in by a family in Indiana, was like, yo, we're boosters. Low-key, we're boosters. Low-key, we're like a little bit slave traders. Like, we're not going to talk about that, but we're going to take you in and make sure that you're good at Indiana, like, because we know you're a great basketball player. And he is, and he took his work ethic, his cultural pride, and brought it to the NBA stage.
He was in the Blind Side Part 2? He was in the Blind Side Part 2?
Literally, OG Anunoby's Blind Side Part 2. And I think Josh Hart went to, Sidwell Friends in D.C.?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah, I'm sure that you probably had some
Quaker schools,
right?
Quaker schools, you know what I mean?
And I'm sure that you also may have had wrestling tournaments against Sidwell Friends, because they were a wrestling powerhouse along the Northeast and Atlantic coast. And Josh Hart went there, and he was broke. He was there to play basketball, and he played, and he was a student at the same time. Sasha and Malia Obama were there, so he was somebody who was just trying to make it. And that's what this Knicks team represents. Now, I'm not going to deny the fact that they have privilege now, that they get paid very, very well now to be New Yorkers and to play on the New York team. But the fact that they are not superstars, they're not the commercial darlings that Victor Wembanyama is. Victor Wembanyama is a commercial darling. He came a completely finished product as an NBA player. And now we have to find a way to defeat him as the favorite. And that's a New York thing. That's a New York thing to be able to get past the resistance, get past the favorites, to say I'm at the mountaintop. Mike Brown, who's the coach of the New York Knicks, who's coached LeBron James, who's coached Kobe Bryant, who's coached the Sacramento Kings, and gotten fired in every one of those situations. When I think about Mike Brown, I think about how he mirrored my career. He's been in such great situations where he improved that team, and when he left, the team was worse. And they overlooked him, and they forgot him, and they thought of him as someone who should be discarded. And Mike Brown became that person despite high levels of competence. If that ain't every black man in America trying to strive in a high level industry, I don't know what is. So this team represents almost all the things that align with my values. And unfortunately, it's not going to change the way the world turns. But fortunately for me, it gives me something honorable to root for.
Yeah, we'll see if I don't have an anxiety attack first, you know what I'm saying? Because this shit, I'm watching my 6-year-old scream at the screen just because he's seeing me react to something in a way he never has before. And he was like, this is the best night ever. You know what I mean? Before I tucked him in and it was halftime. Man. He was like, I want to do this again. And I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I can do it again. You know what I'm saying? But I absolutely hear you, bro, for real.
This has been so precious and amazing. The Smart Dumb Negus podcast, a Brooklyn-bred podcast, a hip-hop-based podcast, a New York City-based podcast, a culture-based podcast. This has been such an honor to talk to you as the Knicks are on an incredible and a magical run that is not over yet. That is not over yet, and it will not be over very soon. And to know that the Knicks and the passion and the heart that we feel for this team represents so much more than a sport. And I'm proud of that. And I'm going to keep going up for the Knicks no matter what anyone says. Check Cav out on YouTube. subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell so that you can see when new episodes drop, because we're going to be dropping new episodes. This has been an amazing and incredible run, just like the Knicks. And check me out on Substack, Big Black Commentary on Substack, Andrew Ricketts on Substack. And we're going to keep you locked in as the Knicks go all the way to the top.
Peace.
Flourish, nigga. Flourish, nigga. Flourish.